Welcome to Dr. Rom's virtual reality tours, DRVRT. I'm doing an experiment. BDI 5D and BDI 4D. 4D is three-dimensional video. Fourth dimension is time. BDI 5D is my experiment. The 5D is the hub telepathy machine, HTM. I'll show you my nature strip. They slashed it and then mowed it. And I got them to leave alone. This is a self-seeded wattle that is very healthy. These are Chinese elm trees, which are also very healthy, saplings. This is self-seeded bamboo. It's not seeded, it grows from the roots. The roots of the bamboo are keeping the ground stopping erosion. These are beautiful petals from the Royal Poinciana tree. It's a magnificent, magnificent tree. So it says on Wikipedia, it was the British who introduced the Royal Poinciana trees. They're called flamboyant trees. In Sri Lanka, my mother told me that she used to play in their roots. So there are flamboyant trees all over the world, but they're apparently almost extinct in Madagascar. Madagascar was plundered horribly for beautiful day-flying moths. The most colorful moths in the world. Madagascan day-flying moths. They also have lots of species of lemur. The president of Madagascar is one of my connections on LinkedIn. I've never been to Madagascar, but I'd like to go. And Madagascar is part of Gondwana. When I was telling you about Gondwana yesterday, I forgot to mention the most important part of Gondwana, which is Africa. Africa, South America, Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Papua, Arabia, Australia, Antarctica. I think New Zealand as well, but I'm not quite sure about it. I've forgotten anything. South America, Africa, Antarctica, Australia, the Indian subcontinent. Yes, that's it. Madagascar. That's Gondwana, the global south. It is much richer than the global north. As I said, I say the Chinese bell tree. That's in my back garden. I got a photograph of it with dozens of corellas. Corellas are cockatoos. There are two species. The little corella or short-billed corella and the long-billed corella. They almost hunted the long-billed corella to extinction. There's a flock of a few hundred birds in the Grampians in Victoria. That was many years ago. That bird there is a currawong. There used not to be currawongs in Brisbane in the city, but they've come from the rural areas. People also observed during the bushfires, which are arson attacks in New South Wales, terrible bushfires. The animals came to the humans for help. I spoke to a very nice lady called Leslie from the Brisbane City Council, and she recognized that the birds calling in the background were happy. And I wrote to my cousin more than 20 years ago, 25 years ago, Nidia Yatur. I sent a paper I'd written on animal and human emotions. And I ended the paper by saying that birds sing when they're happy. She objected to that. She didn't think it was true. It wasn't scientific. Yeah, I called her Nangi. Nangi means little sister. And she is one of the first people to have open heart surgery in 1961 or so. She had a tetralogy of Fallot. Tetralogy of Fallot is a birth deformity of the heart. You get transposition of great vessels. That's the aorta and superior vena cava. And VSDs, ventricular septal defects, and ASDs. There's a fourth feature of the tetralogy of Fallot, but I can't remember. I learned it 35 years ago. So my cousin had open heart surgery and they didn't expect her to live past her teens. My father tried convincing her to have a heart-lung transplant. Nangi. So I figure that the British have been causing birth defects for a long time, long before Watson and Crick was credited with the discovery of the structure of DNA. It is actually not their discovery, it was a Jewish scientist, a female scientist, whose X-ray crystallography they stole. Watson and Crick. Watson and Crick were really racist. Guys from Cambridge. I've got Crick's book, The Amazing Hypothesis. It's not amazing. It's a pretty really crappy book. But the British promote Craig, because it's British. And the British also promote Hawking, Stephen Hawking and Roger Penrose, who won the Nobel Prize, was awarded the Nobel Prize. Roger Penrose's father was professor of eugenics, a eugenics professor. Roger Penrose's father. Stephen Hawking's father was a doctor as well. And I read his book, A Brief History of Time, a little book it is. That's what he's famous for. It's a very crappy book. It's a really crappy book. He writes profiles of Einstein and Newton. Stephen Hawking was what Francis Galton called a wrangler. A wrangler was the top student in mathematics at Cambridge, who he regarded as the most brilliant geniuses in his book. The book was published, I think, in 1869, and it was called Hereditary Genius. And he said he had proved statistically that the British upper classes were more intelligent, much more intelligent than the lower classes, and the white race was much more intelligent than black people. He called us Negroes. The British who came here called us all Indians. He called Aboriginal people Indians as well. And the Aboriginal people led them, looked after them. When Brisbane, when Thomas Pamphlet, a lot of people don't know this history, including Australians. But in around 1823 or 1825, I think it was 1823, a guy called Thomas Pamphlet, who was a ex-convict. He was sailing from New South Wales and he thought he was going south to Tasmania, but they got blown off course, him and his two companions, one of whom was called Finnegan. I can't remember the third guy's name. But Thomas Pamphlet thought that they were sailing south from New South Wales, Botany Bay or Port Jackson. But he actually got blown off course and came to Moreton Bay. Moreton Bay was named by Captain Cook. They're still using the name. So Thomas Pamphlet was shipwrecked along with Finnegan and the other guy. They were trying to get timber to bring back from Tasmania to New South Wales. When they got shipwrecked, Thomas Pamphlet said later, he walked down a little path and there was an Aboriginal man, a black man, standing outside his house with his child. And the man grabbed his child in his arms and said in perfect English, "What do you want? Do you want to kill me? What do you want? Do you want to kill me?" So the Aboriginal people looked after Thomas Trumpet and the Pelican. The two white men couldn't get on with each other. They were looked after by different families of Aboriginal people. They were very, very patient with them. On one occasion, Pamphlet and Finnegan stole a canoe, stole their host's canoe, and tried to sail back to New South Wales, but they got lost. The Aboriginal people followed them to get back their canoe that they'd stolen, their boat that they'd stolen. And they felt so sorry for them that they thought they caught fish for them and fed them. So they took their boat back. So Thomas Pamphlet told the story after he was supposedly rescued by a ship from New South Wales. He debriefed by talking to a magistrate or a judge, and he told the story about the Aboriginal man speaking English. The judge, the magistrate said, he put it down to delirium from his shipwreck. He said Aboriginal people could not be speaking English. Of course they could, because Australia had been invaded decades earlier. But also, I have linguistic evidence and historical evidence that Sri Lankan people have been coming to Australia for thousands of years. Aboriginal friend Alex agrees. So are Indonesians, people from Makassar. They used to trade with sea cucumber, ochres. I've heard gold as well. No one knows how long they've been on for. The Indonesians used to buy trepang, sea cucumber, from Aboriginal people in the Northern Territory, north of Australia, and sell it to the Chinese. It's a delicacy. The Dutch charted 3/4 of the coast of Australia, only the east coast they didn't because of the Barrier Reef. They called it New Holland, but they didn't claim it. They didn't claim it as a Dutch possession because it was occupied. It was against the law in the 1700s to claim land that was unoccupied, that was occupied, unless people signed a treaty and invited them in. That was the reason for the bogus treaties. Bogus treaties. So the Dutch called it New Holland, and Tasmania was called Van Diemen's Land. Then, in 1770, the British tried a dirty trick. The British royal family under King George III, who the British themselves called Mad King George. Mad King George sent Captain James Cook. James Cook is the captain of Star Trek Enterprise. This is James Cook. And Cook, I tell you, this is the story. Yeah, Captain Cook was given secret instructions to sail down from, I think it was Tahiti, I'm not sure, in the Pacific Islands anyway. Sail down and plant the British flag on the east coast of Australia and claim it. As I said, the Dutch had already charted 3/4 of our coastline and called it New Holland, but didn't claim it because it was occupied. That is behind Captain Cook's false and illegal claim that Australia was terra nullius, no one's land or unoccupied land. They said the Aboriginal people were subhuman. They hunted them. They killed 90% of the Aboriginal people around Port Jackson in 1 year, 1789. They came in 1788, the first fleet, with a supply of smallpox. And they killed 90% of the Aboriginal people within the next year. Monsters. Not only that, they left out flour laced with strychnine, so the Aboriginal people who are hungry would steal the flour and kill themselves with the strychnine. They also added strychnine and other poisons to the billabongs, waterholes and waterways. Mount Isa, I was taken to Poison Waterhole by Susan Ellis, mother of my daughter Ruby. She was a student nurse there. Yeah, I was taken to Poison Waterhole when I was in Melbourne, in Victoria. Sarah Jenna and I drove west towards Adelaide. There was Massacre Swamp, Massacre Point, Massacre Cliff. Yeah, Blanket Bay. So I've also asked a few people about who the Aboriginal man is on the Australian $2 coin. No one has known so far. I didn't know either. But I found from the internet that he was an Aboriginal man, the sole survivor